Hello dear students, welcome back to the Royal Palace PU College online classes. So in last class we have discussed about the preparation of colloids. So in that the first method is chemical method. So the arsenic salt which is prepared by the arsenic oxide with hydrogen sulfide, that gives what here arsenic salt, and sulfur dioxide react with hydrogen sulfide, that gives what here sulfur salt. So AuCl3, I mean that react with formaldehyde water, that gives what here gold salt. And the next one, let us I will move for the preparation of again that colloids, the third method, that is peptidization. So already we have discussed about the two methods of the preparation of the colloids. The first one, that is preparation of colloids, that is chemical method. The second one is by bridge arc method, electrolytic disintegration. So electric disintegration. So the third method is preparation of colloid is peptidization. So this is third method of preparation of what here colloid. So that is peptidization. So peptidization means the phenomenon of conversion of precipitate into colloidal salt. So that process is called what here peptidization. The peptidization is defined as the phenomenon of conversion of precipitate into colloidal salt by adding small amount of electrolyte is called peptidization. And the electrolyte which is used to convert what here precipitate into colloidal salt, that electrolyte is called what here peptizing agent. The electrolyte here, whatever we are going to add small amount of electrolyte to convert what here precipitate into colloidal salt, that electrolyte is called what here peptizing agent. Electrolyte used in peptidization process. So already we know the peptidization process. So that is conversion of precipitate into colloidal salt. So we are going to add small amount of electrolyte. So that process is called what here peptidization. And the electrolyte which is added to the conversion of what here precipitate into colloidal salt, that electrolyte is called what here the electrolyte used in peptidization process. That electrolyte is called peptizing agent. That is called peptizing agent. That means the electrolyte which brings the peptidization process. So that is called what here peptizing agent. So for example here, conversion of ferric hydroxide precipitate into ferric hydroxide colloidal salt by adding FeCl3 electrolyte. Now here in this conversion of that ferric hydroxide electrolyte, that is converted into ferric hydroxide salt. So we are going to add a small amount of FeCl3. This FeCl3 act as an peptizing agent. So peptidization means phenomenon of conversion of precipitate into colloidal salt by adding a small amount of electrolyte. That electrolyte is called what here peptidization. peptizing agent, and the process is called what here? Peptization. Here I have given one example, conversion of ferric hydroxide precipitate into ferric hydroxyl colloidal salt by adding FeCl3 electrolyte. So here FeCl3 act as an peptizing agent. So that brings what here? Colloidal precipitate into colloidal form. So now here I will move for these are the three methods for the preparation of the colloid. The first one, that is chemical method, and the second one, so that is bridge arc method. So last class we have discussed about this bridge arc method. So the third one process is what here? Peptization. Now here I will move for the purification of colloid. Next one concept, that is purification of colloids. So here the purification of colloids means, so we are going to reduce the dissolved substance to a required minimum, So here the electrolyte which is necessary for the stability of colloidal particle, but the excess of electrolyte which we are going to remove. So that process is called what here? Purification of colloids. So purification of colloids, it is a process of removal of dissolved substance or excess of electrolyte. So here the minimum electrolyte which is required for the colloidal particle to attain stability, but excess of electrolyte we are going to remove. Excess of substance or excess of electrolyte from the colloidal solution, So from colloidal solution, so we are going to remove the excess of electrolyte or impurities which are present in the colloidal solution. So that the process of removal of impurities or excess of electrolyte, so that process is called what here? Purification of colloids. Okay. So as I told, the minimum quantity of electrolyte is required for the stability of colloidal particle. In here what happened? We are going to remove the excess of the electrolyte or impurities or dissolved substance from the colloidal solution. So that process or that phenomenon is called what here? Purification of colloid. So here the first method, purification of colloid, so that is dialysis. So here the methods which are used for the purification of colloids. Purification of colloids. So the methods which are used for the purification of colloids, the first method, so that is dialysis. The first method, that is dialysis. So dialysis, so consider, so this is an vessel, so through which continuous flow of water at the bottom. So this vessel containing an electrolyte. So this is water inlet. And this vessel having near to the top we have water outlet. So vessel containing an electrolyte and the impure colloidal particle which is taken into the vessel. So which is taken into the parchment bag. So this is an bag, parchment bag or semi-permeable membrane. So after taking this impure colloidal particle, so what happened? The electrolytes or true solution means the solution having the particle size is less than 1 nanometer. Now we know that the colloidal particle do not pass through the that parchment paper, whereas the true solution can be passed through it, because this membrane is called what here? Dialyzer. The membrane which is used, that is called what here? Dialyzer. So this is parchment bag or parchment paper and or animal membrane. So the membrane this is an animal membrane or parchment bag. So, so that bag we have to add what here, impure colloid. So, that bag that is immersed into the vessel, so through which the water continuously flow. So, what happen, the colloidal particle will not pass through the parchment bag, whereas the true solution which can pass through it. So, what happen, true solution means the particle size is less compared to what your colloidal particle. So, the particle which are smaller in size, that is they are called true solution, which can pass through it. So, hence this membrane which is called semi-permeable membrane, the membrane which allows only certain substance. So, that means what here, the small size particle, so they can pass through it, hence the membrane which is used in dialysis process is called what here, dialyzer. Now, the true solution or dissolved substance which comes out of this dialyzing membrane or semi-permeable membrane, whereas the pure particle which retained in the parchment bag, which left in the that parchment bag. So, by this way they are going to separate, they are going to purify the impure colloids. So, dialysis, it is a process of removal of dissolved substance from the colloidal solution through a semi-permeable membrane. The membrane which allows only what, semi-permeable membrane means the membrane which allows only true solution but not colloidal solution. So, colloidal particle. The true solution, as I told, the particle size is what here, less than 1 nanometer. So, for that reason the true solution that only can pass through the parchment paper, I mean parchment, this bag, but not colloidal particle. So, this is an one of the method which is used for the purification of colloids. So, that is dialysis. Dialysis means the process of removal of dissolved substance or true solution from the colloidal solution by using semi-permeable membrane. So, this is called a dialysis process, and here in this process the vessel containing electrolyte, so at the bottom through which there is a continuous flow of the water can be takes place. So, what happen here, the impure colloid taken into the parchment bag, so that membrane is called what here, dialyzer, which is used in the process of what here, dialysis. That parchment bag, to that parchment bag they are going to add what here, impure colloid. So, the impure colloid, so that contains impurities and true solutions having smaller size. So, they can only pass through this semi-permeable membrane dialyzer. So, leaving behind what here, colloidal particle, because the colloidal particle size is greater than 1 nanometer. So, already we know the size of the colloidal particle, the size of the colloidal particle is 1 nanometer to between 1 nanometer to 1000 nanometer. Okay. So, this is one method. So, this is dialysis. Now, here one more method is there. So, that method is second method, that is called electrodialysis. Electrodialysis. The same method here, the ordinary dialysis process is an slow process, same method only. Here also we are going to remove the dissolved substance or true solution which is associated with colloidal solution by using semi-permeable membrane, animal membrane. Okay. So, that allows only what here, true solution particle but not colloidal particles. Here what happen, electrodialysis, this is a second method for the purification of colloids. Now, here in this case electrodialysis, the normal dialysis process, previous process, that is dialysis, that is an slow process. To speed up this process they are going to use electrical potential. So, here they are going to put two electrodes in the vessel. So, one is act as an cathode, another one is act as an anode. Now, when two electrodes are immersed into the vessel, the ions which is present in the colloidal solution which migrate towards the oppositely charged electrode. Okay. The ions which is present in the colloidal solution which migrate towards the electrode, oppositely charged electrode, hence the process will be that will speed up, that process will be speed up under the influence of electric field. Okay. So here also same thing. In this method, the vessel containing electrolyte, so at the bottom there is a continuous flow of what here, a water. So the impure colloidal solution taken into the dialyzing membrane or parchment membrane. So what happen? The process of true solution that will comes out of this parchment bag, whereas the colloidal particles left in the parchment bag. So here the what happen? The process will be speed up. So the normal dialysis, it is a slow process, hence to speed up this process, so they are going to use electrical potential, so that is called what here? Electrodialysis. Okay. So now here this is an electrodialysis method. So this is a second method for the purification of what here? Colloidal particle. Now the third case, that is ultrafiltration. So this is a third method for the purification of colloids. Ultrafiltration. So ultrafiltration. So that means what here? The process of filtration, this one, but here the filtration process in which what happen? They are going to use a special type of filter paper. So that filter papers are called what here? Ultrafiltration. So already we know that ordinary filter paper having porous size is large. The porous size of this ordinary filter paper is large. So what happen? The colloidal particles also moves into the that porous. That means the colloidal particles can pass through the normal filter paper. Because of that, the porous size in the normal filter paper is larger. For that reason, the colloidal solution also can pass through the ordinary filter paper, but not through the that ultra filter paper. Because here what happen? To reduce the porous size of the normal filter paper, that filter paper is dipped into the collodion solution. Collodion solution. So that collodion solution that reduce the porous size. Now here this is an consider this is an ordinary filter paper having large porous size. So after dipping this in collodion solution, so what happen? The size of the porous size will be decreases. So after decreasing the size of the porous size, the colloidal particle will not pass through this. So this filter paper again dipped into the, hardened by the formaldehyde. This filter paper that is dipped into the formaldehyde to get hard. So after this, on drying it, we will get what here? A ultra filter paper. So these are the ultra filter paper. After drying, we will get what here? Ultra filter paper. So through ultra filter paper, the colloidal solution will not move, whereas the true solution particle will be move. So this is an method of purification of the colloids, and this is an ultrafiltration. So here the ordinary filter papers have what here? More size, porous size, and after dipping in collodion solution and formaldehyde, we get a special type of filter papers. They are called ultra filter paper. Okay. So now here the ultra filter paper through which only true solution can be passed through it, whereas the colloidal particle will not pass through this. So this is called the method which is used for the purification of colloid, that is ultrafiltration. So next one, let us will move for the concept, that is properties of colloids. Properties of colloids. Okay. So let us we will move for the another one important concept, that is properties of the colloid. Properties of the colloid. Properties of colloids. Okay. The first one property of colloid is, that is colligative property. So colligative property. So already this property which are studied in physical chemistry chapter, solution chapter, that is colligative properties. The property which depends on the number of the particle but not nature of the particle. Here colligative property means, already we know the colloids are the formed by the aggregations of particle. Colloids are the formed by the aggregation of particle. So here what happen? the number of aggregated colloidal particle, that means the number of aggregated dispersed phase particles are smaller compared to the true solution particle. Okay. So, already we know that the colloids are the formed by the aggregation of what here, dispersed phase particle. Okay. So, that dispersed phase particle when they aggregate, that number is less compared to what here, true solution particle. Okay. So, already we know idea about true solution. The true solution having a particle size is less than 1 nanometer. So, on comparing with this true solution, the colloidal particle when they aggregate, the dispersed phase particle when they aggregate, it forms colloid. So, on comparing these two, the number of particles of true solution is greater. The number of colloidal particle, dispersed phase particle when they aggregate, that number is be less. That means the colligative properties like osmotic pressure, these are the colligative property value, osmotic pressure, elevation in boiling point, boiling point, depression in freezing point, relative lowering vapor pressure, lowering vapor pressure. So, these are the colligative properties. So, the values of colligative property, the values of colligative property are smaller compared to the what here, values of true solution particle. Whatever the particles when they aggregate, dispersed phase particle aggregate, they form colloid. So, this number, this colligative property values are less compared to the what here, colligative properties of true solution. Okay. So, this is about what here, the colligative property of the colloidal particle. That means the colligative property values are, so these are the colligative properties, these colligative properties values are values of true solution particles greater than colloidal particle, colligative values of colloidal particle. So, this is first property of the, that is colloidal solution, colloidal particles, colligative property. Next one, so let us, I will move for the next property, that is Tyndall effect or optical property. So, this is colligative property. So, the osmotic pressure value, relative lowering vapor pressure, elevation in boiling point, depression in freezing point, these values when we compared with true solution, the colloidal particle values, colligative property values are very small. Now, the second one property, so that is Tyndall effect. Now, Tyndall effect is a phenomenon of scattering of light by the dispersed phase particle which are present in the colloidal solution. So, that phenomenon of scattering of light, that is called what here, Tyndall effect. The Tyndall effect is phenomenon of scattering of light, by dispersed phase particle, present in the colloidal solution, So, already we know that colloidal solution is an heterogeneous solution which consisting dispersed phase and dispersion medium. The dispersed phase these are the dispersed into the dispersion medium, the medium in which the substance are dispersed, so they are called dispersion phase. Now here the phenomenon of scattering of light by dispersed phase particle present in the colloidal solution is called Tyndall effect, is called Tyndall effect. Very important for your examination, properties of colloidal particle. Okay. So here this is an experimental setup. So this is a light source or source of light. So when it falls on the colloidal solution, so this is an colloidal solution, okay. So what happen, the scattering of light can be takes place in all direction. This is, consider this is an particle, that means dispersed phase particle. So this is colloidal solution which contains both dispersion phase and dispersion medium. So what happen, the scattering of light can be takes place, that the light can be scattered in all direction. The scattering is due to the presence of what here, dispersed phase particle. Okay. When the light which is falls on the colloidal solution, here we are going to observe the, we are going to observe the scattering of light in all direction. So this observation can be done by viewing right angles to the beam of the light. Okay. So after observing, there is the path of the beam which observe, which visible in the form of bright cone. Okay. So when the light falls on the colloidal solution, the light gets scattered in all direction due to the presence of colloidal particle. So that scattering of light which observed by using a microscope, that is at right angles to the path of the light, beam of the light. So after observing, so the path of the light visible in the form of bright cone. The bright cone is due to the scattering of light. Okay, bright cone. That bright cone is called what here? Tyndall cone. Tyndall cone. Tyndall cone. Okay. So this experimental setup is called ultra microscope. Experimental setup which is used to observe the Tyndall effect is called ultra microscope Gismonde. So the experimental setup which is used to observe this Tyndall effect, so that is called ultra microscope Gismonde. Okay. And to observe this Tyndall effect, the following methods that should be satisfied. Okay. The conditions which should be satisfied to observe the Tyndall effect. Okay. The first one, the particle size of the dispersed phase not much smaller than wavelength of light used. Okay. So here the condition that should be followed, if the size of the particle is very small and having large wavelength, there is no scattering can be takes place. Okay. So for that reason, this condition that should be satisfied, so then only we are going to observe the Tyndall effect. That means there is not much smaller than the wavelength of the light used. The particle size should be comparable. Okay. The second method, there is more difference between refractive indices of dispersion phase and dispersion medium. So there should be a large difference between refractive indices of a dispersion phase and dispersion medium. So this is about what here? Tyndall effect, phenomenon of, or this is also called optical property. So here the phenomenon of scattering of light can be takes place. The scattering is due to what here? Presence of dispersed phase particle. So that scattering of light is called what here? Tyndall effect. Okay. So this is an experimental setup which is used to observe the Tyndall effect. So that experimental setup is called what here? Ultra microscope Gismonde. And these are the conditions that should be followed for the observation of this effect, that is called Tyndall effect. Okay. So now here let us, I will move for the third one property, I mean next property, Brownian movement. Brownian movement. Okay. So Brownian movement, it is also called kinetic property. Brownian movement, it is also called third property, Brownian movement. Brownian movement, or it is also called kinetic property. Kinetic property. Brownian movement or kinetic property. So Brownian movement, Robert Brown, he is an British botanist. Okay. So he is going to observe this movement, Brownian movement. So by using an ultra microscope, so the colloidal solution which is observed, so he found that the colloidal particles are continuous in zigzag motion. Okay, continuous in zigzag motion. So this movement, continuous movement of dispersed phase particle in colloidal solution is called what here? Brownian movement. The movement of this particle is due to what here? Collision. The collision between dispersed phase particle and molecules of dispersion medium. Molecules of dispersion medium. So due to this collision, so what happen? The dispersed phase particle, they get kinetic energy and they will show what here? A movement again. So the movement can be increases. So that the phenomenon of movement of dispersed phase particle in a zigzag manner, so that is called what here? Brownian movement. Okay. And the Brownian movement is due to what here? The particle which acquire or which gain the kinetic energy. So due to the collision between dispersed phase particle and the molecules of dispersion medium. So this is called a Brownian movement. The next one property, so Brownian movement means it is a movement of dispersed phase particle in a continuous zigzag motion. So that movement is called what here? Brownian movement. So the movement is due to what here? Kinetic energy. The kinetic energy acquired by the dispersed phase particle due to the collision between dispersed phase particle and the molecules of what here? Dispersion medium. So is called Brownian movement. Okay. So next one property, that is fourth one property, color of the colloidal particle. The color is due to color property of the colloid. Color is due to, that is mainly based on the wavelength of light used. The color is due to wavelength of color depends on following factors. The color of the colloid depends on the following factor, that is wavelength of light used, and next one property, size and nature of the particle. The colloidal particle color is mainly depends on these two factors, wavelength of light used and the size and nature of the particle. So consider here one example, very fine particle of gold, red in color. So this is an example, very fine particle of gold is red in color. On increasing the size of the particle, the color converted to purple and blue. Finally it takes golden color. So this is the color property of the colloidal solution. The color of the colloidal particle is due to depends on these two factors, wavelength of light used and size and nature of the particle. Here I have given very fine particles, they appears to be red. So on slightly increasing the size of this particles, the color, the red, that will become what here, purple, then blue. So finally the color will become what here, golden color. So this is the another one property of this colloidal particle. Okay. So next one, fifth one, that is electrical property or charge on the colloidal particle. Next property, that is charge on the colloidal particle. Charge on the colloidal particle. So colloidal particle always carries charges. Either it carries what here, positive charge or negative charge. So colloidal particle always carries charges. Either it carries what here, positive charge or negative charge. So now here example for positively charged colloid. So ferric hydroxide salt colloids, aluminum hydroxide colloids. So these are the example for the positively charged colloids. So whereas negatively charged colloid example, colloids example, arsenic sulfide salt or antimony sulfide salt. So these are the example for the negatively charged colloid. So this is the charge on the colloidal property or electrical property of the colloid. So the colloidal particle always carries charge, either it carries positive or negative. So here I have given example for the positively charged colloid and negatively charged colloid. Okay. So now I will stop here, we will continue next class. Thank you.